Hi, welcome to Shelf Control. I'm Norm,
I'm Lisa.
and today we're going to talk about Earth. So we kickstarted this when it first came out because it sounded really up my alley. It's a tableau building.
I thought you were going to say something else.
What did you think I was going to say?
A tableau building, engine building, a bunch of unique cards along the lines of like terraforming Mars, bunch of different scoring objectives, a puzzle that you're trying to put out. So it sounded like the kind of game I would like. So I kickstarted it, and we kickstarted it. We want to get this video out because they're doing another Kickstarter for the expansion for this. We don't have a prototype copy of that to evaluate because we're just hobbyists here in the YouTube space.
Nobody even knows who we are.
But we wanted to talk about the base game and see if that helps you, because they also have the base game available on the Kickstarter if you want. What does Earth have to offer other than probably the most beautiful box cover? Well, it's a tableau builder where you're going to build your own little grid of 4x4 cards. So you have 16 cards laid out in a grid beside your player board, and the main point is going to be all the different scoring objectives that there are going to be during the game. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to have 4 of the animal cards. I believe they call them fauna because, flora and fauna. And they will have certain things like the American alligator requires cards that have a water habitat, and that might be one of the ones that's available. Or the wild boars want 4 mushrooms. And so you're going to have 4 of those out on the board at the very beginning that everybody can see. And it's going to be a race to get those first. First person to get it takes their colored leaf and claims the 15-point spot. If another person does it, it goes down to 11, 8, 6, and 5.
And if more than one person were to get it in that particular round, it goes in order of first player.
Right. So if it was my turn and I complete it and somebody else around also completes it, they would go behind me. You've got 4 different scoring cards that dictate how you want to build your tableau. You want to put 8 plus water in there, 4 of them being mushrooms, 9 flora, each with at least 1 cube on it, and 3 flora with a color in their name. And so you're going through the big stack of cards, playing them out, trying your best to meet these requirements, as well as your environment requirements, of which there are 2, which will go out here. So this one says 5 points at the end of the game for every 2 cards with 4 more cubes on it.
Sprouts.
They call them sprouts, but they're cubes.
They're sprouts.
I've heard it both ways.
And then this one is 4 points for every 3 cards that have 2 or more habitats as part of their layout. So at the very beginning of the game, you have 6 different scoring things that you are trying to accomplish as you're playing, but also everybody gets one of their own unique.
So the ecosystems are points at the end of the game. So you still want to go for them throughout building your tableau, but the animal ones or the fauna.
They're ones that have to be
They
claimed.
have to be claimed. So you're trying to get those first, where the other ones are going to be done at the end of the game scoring.
And also on this board, there's a spot. If you fill up your entire 4x4 grid, if you're the first person to do it, you get 7 points. And that triggers the end of the game. As soon as somebody fills up their 4x4 grid, the game ends. Everybody takes turns until it goes back to the first player. So we all get an equal number of turns, but there's not one more turn after that like in some games. So if you end the game, you're not getting another turn. It's going around to the first player and then the game ends. And then you score. This is what they would call a point salad game, because everything gives you points. You're just throwing a bunch of points in a jar. You're going to be going through the cards in your tableau have a point value on them. You're going to be playing event cards that will have victory points on them, some of them negative. You have a compost pile, which is kind of like your discard pile, but you get a point for each one of those cards in there. You get 1 point for every cube that you have out on your cards. You get 1 point for every growth that you have on your cards, and if you're able to get the full growth for the card, you get a bonus on some of those. And then you can get some terrain cards, which give you scoring kind of like these ecosystems, but you place them out into your tableau, and they might have positioning scoring that based off them, or scoring based on a number of things. And then you get your VP from the ecosystems and the faunas, and add up your score. So points for everything.
Points galore.
And so
you need to find your balance and making sure you're meeting all of those.
you have 4 actions that you can take that are shown at the top of your board. And you just pick one, a green one, a red one, a blue one, or a yellow one. And the green one is how you play cards out. It lets you play 2 cards from your hand, but you have to pay the soil cost. Soil is your resource, kind of
And
like
it's
money.
called planting your cards, not playing them.
I've heard it both ways. You haven't.
So you plant.
You're not using the right terms.
Plant 2 cards, and then you get to draw 4 off the top of the deck. Pick 1 to keep in your hand and discard the others, not to your compost. But then when you say you're doing green, everybody else will mark their green section, because the lower part is what they get to do. Even though it's your turn, everybody gets a smaller version of the action that you pick. In this case, everyone would be able to plant 1 card and draw 1 card.
And the cards in your tableau also have colors at the bottom of them. So whenever you do these actions, you also get to trigger then the color if you have that color in your tableau. So there's not many greens, but if you have a green, you can activate it. And that's for whether you're the one who went to actually choose the top action, or if you're one of the other players and use the bottom action.
Red is how you get the dirt. If you choose this action, you get 5 dirt, and you take 2 cards off the top of the deck and you put them into your compost pile, which is 2 points.
And dirt is pretty much like your money. That's what you need to play your cards out.
And so then everyone else can choose to get either 2 dirt or compost 2 cards for 2 points. Then everybody would trigger their red cards. And it also shows the rainbow symbol here, because some cards have the rainbow symbol, which means that they trigger off of red, yellow, or blue. And so you would do your red plus all of your rainbow cards.
If you want, you don't have to do the action on the card if you don't want to, and you go in order. So you'll start in the upper left corner, and then work your way through your grid, doing them in that order.
And I think that's for ease of understanding how your turn goes, because if you could pick, okay, I'm going to do this yellow action, then that yellow, and then you would lose track of which ones you did. So you just start at the top and be like, okay, we're triggering yellow, okay, there's yellow, I do that, there's yellow, I do that, on down, and then you're done. The blue is how you get your sprouts. So you can get 6 cubes, which go out on your cards. Cards will have a symbol across the bottom, these little squares with leaves in them, and that's how many sprouts a card can hold.
It's going to be difficult to see, but there's this section right above the blue line that has spaces for sprouts. So this one takes 5 sprouts.
And so you're getting 6 from this action. You could put 5 of them there and another one on one, or you could break them up however you want. You don't have to start top to bottom putting them in. You can fill them out however you want. And then you get 2 dirt, and everybody else picks 2 sprouts or 2 dirts, and then everyone triggers their blue cards.
And here's an example of the rainbow. So you see at the bottom here, it's got all 3 colors, the yellow, the red, and the blue. So you could trigger those on any of those actions.
The yellow action is how you can get more cards. You draw 4 into your hand, and you get 2 growth. There is a growth spot on a card.
So your card, most cards will allow you to have growth on it, and that's just your plants growing. So this, you can have a total of 4 tall in your growth, and each growth is 1 point. But if you get to the highest level, in this case of 4, you would get 5 points for it. So it's still 1 point per, but if you complete it, you get the higher point value.
And everybody else can draw 2 cards or get 2 growth, and then you trigger your yellows. Just on your turn, you're picking one of these 4 actions to do, and then everybody is following whatever action you take. And then you pass the marker over, and they pick one. If you got the deluxe version, you got this wooden piece to mark. But we kind of like the cardboard one that has the fox.
It's a fox. It's cute.
Or this one with looks like a waterfall. I like it. I like it a lot better than the wooden one. We generally don't play with that one.
And at the start, when you're starting the game, everyone picks an island, and that's going to be where you're making your tableau. So it's your particular island, and it tells you what you're going to start with. It'll tell you how much dirt you'll start with, how many cards you'll have in your hand, how many cards of those you'll have to put in your compost to start. So it gets you started. It also has some habitats at the top, and it also has point values on that card.
And they'll also come, a lot of them, with some kind of ability. This one's got a yellow ability that gives you +2 sprouts if you choose the yellow action. There's one here that you get +2 soil if you choose the blue action. And so it can give you a little bit of an early start with, okay, I like blue actions, so I'm going to pick blue more often because I get a bonus from it.
So that's how you get started. So you're on your own island, and then you're basically just habitating. You're making it.
So you've got your island. You also pick a climate at the beginning of the game, which will have a certain ability on it, as well as some points and some habitats.
Some habitats, yep.
And so you start with your island, your climate, and your ecosystem, and then your ecosystem, and these are your scoring goals. Yeah, this is only 1/4 of the cards.
Yep, there's a lot of cards in here, but that's good.
And there are no duplicates either. So it's kind of like Terraforming Mars in that regard, where there's no duplicate cards.
So you've got cards that are mushrooms, cards that are bushes. You've got trees. What else do we have?
I don't
Terrains. What is this one here?
I don't know
Just
what
a
that.
plant
If that's
of
a
some
shrub, I don't know. We don't have the rule book out here.
And then these are your events. So Norm talked about those as well. You can play them at any time. It doesn't have to be your turn. And you put it down, and there's a point value on it. Most of them are zeros, but some of them will give you negative points, but they do probably give you something good. So if I were to play this event, it would give me 2 sprouts, and I would put it in my event pile, and at the end of the game I would tally any scores. Now this one's a 0 point, so I'm just playing it to get 2 sprouts. And it is the steam vents. We have been to the steam vents.
We have.
In Hawaii. So you can play an event at any time. Your terrain is actually going to go into your tableau, and this one will say all water costs -1 dirt. So it cannot cost less than 0, obviously. So if you're wanting to play a water habitat and it costs 1 soil to play it, if you have this in your tableau, you get to play it for free. So terrains will give you a little bit of a bonus in some form. When you have your growth, again, that circle where you're going to be building up your plant. So anytime you can take the growth action, you would put it on your card. In this instance, it can take 5 of the growth. If I get all 5, I'll get 6 points. So you'll just keep piling on every time you do a growth ability. You can put them on any of your cards, but if you want to kind of get this one going, you'll put 4 of the standard growth, but then when you top it off, when you finish it, you're going to put this particular piece on it. So your growth has its bloom at the top.
And that just symbolizes that's got its max
Yep.
growth. So it's easy. You know you don't need to put any more growth on it. And for scoring, you know it's completed.
And there are some cards that say spend a growth to do something else. So, I mean, you can take away from this as you want. So, of course, you would take off the top and then go from there. And then you can always put it back later if you take that action. So the sprouts the growth is pretty neat, having this little cap on it.
And so you can see that this can also have hold up to 2 sprouts on it. So your cards are going to start collecting all kinds of
And it's
wooden,
just a
wooden
little
bits
green
on it.
cube.
And so you're going to end up with a 4x4 grid with various levels of growth and cubes on them. So don't bump them with your arm, because these will
topple over. Is the leaves standard? The wooden leaves?
The wooden leaves are not standard.
Okay.
They came with the Kickstarter. They've got cardboard.
Okay. So if you have the base game, you're getting just the cardboard leaves. But here, if you've got the deluxe version, I'm assuming,
Yeah.
you get the wooden leaf. And so I think the Kickstarter now that's being released actually includes pink leaves.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The expansion's adding a 6th player, which we haven't played with more than 3 players, but the fact that when you take an action, everybody takes a sub-action, everybody's involved during other turns. Right. When we played with 3 players, it really didn't feel any different than when we were playing with 2.
It goes really, I wouldn't say it goes quickly. The game doesn't necessarily go quickly, but the turns, it's continuous. You don't feel like there's a lot of lag time. And if someone's got analysis paralysis on their turn, you're still taking your action from the bottom piece. So you're still engaged while everyone else is going.
Yeah, 'cause you can do the action simultaneously, because there really isn't any take that or doing anything to any people. So what you're doing over here doesn't really affect anybody else, except that they might want to see how close you are to accomplishing one of these, or how close you are to that 16 by 16 grid. Because that's one thing with this game. It doesn't have a set number of rounds. It's when somebody completes a grid. So if people aren't building out cards, they're collecting resources and trying to find the exact cards. If everybody's doing that, it can really slow the game down.
And you need dirt. So with the Kickstarter, the deluxe version, you get little wooden pieces of dirt, and it's just this tiny triangular piece. It's tiny, kind of difficult if you're trying to get multiple together. But you get the deluxe version, you get the wooden pieces. The standard
Otherwise,
version
it's
just
just
comes with
little
these little cardboard pieces. And they come in 1s, 5s, and 10s. So where you've got infinite number there, you're limited to how many you have here. And we haven't really gotten rid of all the dirt. We haven't run out of dirt. Because you're spending the dirt as you're playing your cards.
Yeah, dirt's one of those things that you don't get points for at the end of the game unless you have a specific card that says get a point for each dirt at the end of the game. So there's no point in hoarding the dirt.
And your board, what I love about this is your board tells you everything. So at the end of the game, it tells you what you're going to be scoring. You know, it comes with a score pad that has everything on there as well. And here, it just lets you know what the resources are. So it explains to you the growth would go on the sprout would go on the sprout space. You know, it tells you, the first thing when I first started playing it, I remember being confused of, okay, what's compost? What does that mean?
From your hand? Icons.
Yep, all of the icons that are on the cards. So that was a little confusing, but it's on your board. So that's helpful.
I mean, the turns are crazy simple. You're picking an action, doing it, everyone's following it, and then you just trigger all those colored cards that you have. Boom, 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 boom.
And also at any time you can turn in 3 of your sprouts, 3 of your green cubes at any time to get 2 dirt. So if you are desperate for dirt and it's not your turn, but let's say someone played green and you desperately want to play a card out, you can turn some sprouts in to get some dirt to play that card.
Because it can be kind of disappointing when you have no dirt and somebody picks the green action, which allows you to plant 1 card if you had dirt. And so you can turn in sprouts for dirt to then be able to play a card if you really wanted to get one out.
And if you don't have dirt, you can draw the 1 card, but you want to play a card. You want to get those cards out.
Especially if other people are playing cards out, because they're getting faster to that 16 and
potentially getting closer to achieving these goals. So you want to, again, that's a race to see who gets it first. It can be a bit overwhelming to first learn it just because there's so many places you can get points, and looking at your grid, you're trying to figure out the best way to do things. So that can be a bit overwhelming.
So that's one of the important takeaways from this review. With this flowery earth theme, this is not a gateway game. You
At
can't
all, no.
you can't just pick somebody off the street and be like, you like plants. Here, let's play this. By the end, they'll probably hate plants, because there is so many things thrown at you right at the very beginning of the game. You've got 6 different ways of scoring points that are right from the beginning of the game dictating how you want to build these 16. You have one of your own that you picked. Either the beginner is you get 1 card and they're double sided, so you pick one side. The more advanced game, you get 2, so you got 4 to pick from, and you got 4 of each of these things: your island, your climate. And so you're trying to pick, okay, what can I play that matches what I'm trying to do here with this. And so right from the start, you can be overwhelmed with what you're trying to do, and you don't even get any cards in your hand to start with to see, okay, which direction am I even possibly going in.
Yeah, when this game first got delivered, he of course will play through it a couple times as multiplayers just to get a feel for it, so he can then teach me how to play it, and then we jump in and play. And I think it was pretty late one evening that we decided to play it together for the first time, and I was tired. I wasn't in the right headspace. I remember feeling very overwhelmed, and I was just kind of like just going through the motions, not really paying attention to what I was doing. So I didn't really enjoy the game that first time. And so when he suggested we play it again, I kind of brushed it off and suggested other games. But we did come back to it, and have played it numerous times since.
If you think it's something you're going to enjoy, you might want to give it a couple plays before you actually dismiss it.
Yes.
Because like her, my first play of this game was not favorable at all. I was like, I don't care for this game. It can go. But as you play it more and you're starting to understand the puzzle that you're working with, it gets more enjoyable. I guess we're going through cons since we started with how heavy it is. So I will say that another con for me, it's not really the theme that's a problem, but maybe how the theme is implemented. Or you've got all of these, you got wall screw moss, you've got coriander, you got the horn of plenty, you've got Japanese boxwood, you've got Iceman fungus, you've got all these plant cards that all do different things, and none of them get me excited.
I don't care about plants.
Like when you're playing Terraforming Mars, it's like, okay, I'm crashing an asteroid into the planet. That's pretty cool. It's like, oh, I'm building this thing that's like a science institute that's doing
All the science stuff.
That's cool. I understand it. This is like I'm planting a horn of plenty.
Well, but you're not a huge plant lover. This would be, if you're really into plants and horticulture, you're going to really enjoy this. The cards are realistic, so it is actual pictures of the plant, and it gives you their scientific names as well, and it gives you a little bit of information. So you got a little bit of color text down at the bottom that tells you about the plant.
When I'm playing, these cards are just reduced down to their icons for me. Because it's like, okay, I need cards with a water habitat. All right, this card has a water habitat. Do I care this is a Japanese boxwood? I don't care if it's a Japanese boxwood unless one of these cares that it's a Japanese boxwood. And coriander. Oh, coriander. That's in a water habitat. That's okay. I don't know anything about coriander, but it takes place in water. So my interest in these cards is how these cards accomplish these goals. They're not exciting in and of their own, wherein like Terraforming Mars again, which this game gets compared to a lot. It's like I might be losing, But if I take the moon out of its orbit and slam it into the planet with a card, I feel like I've accomplished something because I just dropped the moon on a planet.
It's kind of a big deal.
It is a big deal.
So there's no cards in here that are.
Yeah, but you're a space person. That's more of your interest. So I think that's just a personal opinion.
Do you think that there's anything that stands out?
I look at all of them. I enjoy looking at the cards.
Oh yeah, if I have downtime, I'm gonna read the flavor text. I'm gonna look at the pictures and stuff. But when I'm drawing cards,
I am looking at the icons. I am looking at what the ability gives me. But I'm also looking at the card. I like looking at the names and seeing all of that information on it. But I mean, am I dropping a meteor? No, I'm not. But I am enjoying looking at the cards.
You know, even as you get more familiar with this game, I don't foresee you ever being like, man, I hope I draw that cat spruce.
Cross your fingers.
No.
Because it's like, oh, I need this cat spruce. It's like, no, if you need something that has 5 growth on it. Okay. Or you need something that has sprouts on it, or you need a yellow action or something like that. There's nothing that's like, sweet, I got the cat spruce.
Okay, we're gonna quit beating this nail with the hammer.
So
we'll move on from this opinion.
I mean, that to me, that's like the biggest dock that this game has, is that it doesn't capture your imagination.
Okay, we're gonna move on.
Okay, do you have another con?
Let's talk about the soil. So again, tiny little triangular pieces. I end up dropping more on the floor than I end up keeping on my board. The cardboard ones work just fine. So these are more of a nuisance and a hindrance.
Yeah, I don't like the soil either. Like if you need to pick up 3, you're reaching in here, you can't really, with your fingers, you can't really tell if you got 3. I happen to get 3. So, but for some reason with the round cardboard ones, you can reach in and be like, okay, that feels like 3. Okay, yeah, I got 3.
Now I like the feel of just messing with them.
I would prefer having a nice wood piece.
Yeah.
But not these ones.
Not these, and not in this shape. You could have done something a bit different than this particular one. These are just a hindrance for me, in my opinion.
I'm gonna go with another wooden component that I don't like. I don't like these canopies.
You don't like the canopies?
I don't like the canopies. They got this weird
what do you call them?
Butt plug look to them. I mean, they do, and there's a green one, there's a blue one, and a red one, and a yellow one, and when on the Kickstarter page, what they had these same wooden pieces, kind of like this, but they had almost like a round mushroom top that would sit on top.
Oh, I would like that better.
And it looked
That's
great.
More thematic.
Because you got mushrooms in the game. But you could also say that that's the canopy of a tree. And it worked. It looked great. Maybe the problem was getting the indentation in the bottom for the mushroom top. But now they went with these, I'm assuming they're supposed to be pine trees, not butt plugs.
Don't assume nothing, sweetheart.
But they went with these, and it's like, okay, there's my mushroom.
Yeah. And they are incredibly easy to hit when you're working with your tableau and playing your cards out. So I can see that.
I would have loved for them to have stayed with the nice rounded canopies.
Yeah, okay. I could see that. I didn't know that the rounded canopies were an option.
These were a disappointment, especially when you're making a blue tree. I'll try to look at the card that I'm building and be like, does this one look like it could be a blue tree? If so, I'll go ahead and put this on it. But otherwise, I don't want a blue tree.
Or a yellow or red tree. It doesn't impact the gameplay, but it...
The fact that I knew that there was a better looking option originally is kind of sad.
Okay, well, what do you like?
I like the puzzle. I like the complexity of all of these. There's a lot of games that have this to some degree, but this has so many parameters of ways that you're trying to score. Not just these 6 plus your ones, that's 7, but you can also play cards from your hand into your tableau that add even more scoring. And so you're trying your best. Again, you got the stack of cards that are all different, so waiting to draw that cat spruce might never come up. But you're like, okay, I need another tree symbol. So I'm going to take the yellow action and draw 4, and it's like, okay, I got the tree symbol I needed there, so that can go there, and then I've got this one for scoring purposes can go up into that corner, and it matches the water that we need there, and it's like, okay, so now I need to get my hands on 8 soil so I can play these 2 cards with a green action. There's not so much of you hoping to draw particular cards for what you're doing, but you're trying your best with what you get.
Mm-hmm.
And I like having this tight constraint.
And you may go in thinking you're going for a particular thing. Okay, I'm only looking at that. But the cards you're picking up, you may be going a whole different route. And that's okay. And that's fun to then change gears and figure out the new puzzle and how to get that to work. I like the nature theme. Very, very beautiful box, very pretty pictures. They're real pictures of the plants and so forth. I like reading about them, learning about them. I'm not going to try to pronounce the scientific names for them, but it's interesting. I do very much like the puzzle. So getting that 4x4 grid together, trying to match up the cards that are needed to get the bonus points, or being the first to get the 15 points based on the fauna cards. So those are, I like that challenge. I like the race in that. So that gets your adrenaline going a little bit. You're still kind of worrying about what your opponents are doing, while still making sure you got to be the first to get to that 8 water habitat to get those 15 points. So I do enjoy that part of the game.
There's lots of replayability because each of these animal cards, you got the alligator on that side, you got the Arctic fox on this side. He cares about water, Arctic fox cares about winter habitats. And so you've got a huge stack of the animal cards that are all double-sided. You're going to play with just 4 of them in a single game. You've got a whole bunch of different ecosystems that you're going to play with 2 and 1 of your own. And then a bunch of islands and climates that they're all double-sided. Mm-hmm. So there's so many combinations that you can play that you're not going to have any 2 games be exactly the same unless you specifically set it up that way.
Right.
And so that's kind of neat. Plus, every card's different, so every shuffle, you don't know what's going to be coming out. You might get a ton of events. I played a game where my island said that whenever I play an event, I can draw a card, and I played 1 event that game because I just never drew any into my hand. So my island's ability was basically blank. But that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Things that people have docked this game for is that randomness of cards coming out. I don't have a problem for this game. You need to come into this game knowing that it's a efficiency of do the best you can with what you get. It's not a game of you're gonna have exactly what you need every time you need it, kind of thing.
Let's give it some scores.
Okay. I'll start. So we do a 7-point scale for gameplay mechanics, the rules and how it plays, not taking into account our personal likes and dislikes of playing the game. And I think I'm going to be giving it a 6 out of the 7, just for the bits that are a little bit disappointing. These
Don't say it. Don't you say it.
Being the way they are, and these wood, even though this is a deluxe thing, I'd rather not play with those. I'd use the cardboard. There's nothing special about the cards that make me want to draw a particular one. So I'm going to give it the 6 out of 7 on that.
I am also giving it a 6. Again, with the dirt, It's much easier to play it with a cardboard piece, but we still play it with these just because it's the deluxe version. It's the wooden pieces, but we may change that. I didn't really have a problem with these, but again, knowing now that there was a different option, it would have been better. Again, the colors could have been a little bit more true to nature. I don't have a problem with the cards. I like the cards. I like the abilities of the cards. You know, I like the randomness of that. So I'm giving it a 7 just based on these two little components.
Oh, one other thing I would like to add about the cards is that, you know, as you put cards out, you know, you're going to be getting these different colored abilities, yellow, red. And so as you're building out, you're going to be like, okay, I get a lot of bonuses off of yellow, so I'm going to play yellow myself a lot. And other people might be like, I'm going to stop picking yellow because Norm's getting a lot of stuff off of yellow, so I'm going to play a different thing as well. And that's nice, but it's also, it doesn't come up that often where it's like, I need to get my hands on another yellow card to make yellow even stronger. The abilities on the cards themselves, they're nice bonuses, but when they call this an engine builder because everything fires, it's not so much that I'm looking for. It's like, okay, this one uses up a soil for 3 growth, so let me find a card that on yellow gives me a soil, so I can put that in front of that one, so I get a soil, then I can spend the soil. So your personal tuning of the engine is more accidental,
Right?
Because you're just
everything's random.
You're placing them out according to these scorings out here, and then if the bonuses just happen to line up, then great. So I think while it may be proper to call it an engine builder, you don't have a whole lot of control over
Right.
how that engine runs,
Agreed.
which is a little bit of a dock for it, but I don't know how you would fix that.
All right, let's talk about wow factors.
The wow factor. So
1 to 3.
that's where the 0 to 3 comes up for the 10-point scale. Am I going first?
Yep.
It's hovering between a 1 and a 2 for me. I do like that puzzle, and at the moment it might be a 2, but in the future it might drop down to the 1.
Well, we're just basing it on today.
Because I enjoy the puzzle, but like I said, the theme doesn't grab me. So it's almost since you're so focused on what you're doing, it's almost a solo game. It's very much a multiplayer solitaire. And so like the puzzling it out almost feels like, you know, sitting down and doing a crossword puzzle kind of thing. You've got this difficult puzzle. It's like sitting down doing a Sudoku. You got this difficult puzzle that you're going to figure out on your own, and everybody else at the table is also trying to figure out their personal little puzzle on their own. So I enjoy that. I will give a little bit of a knock to the solo game. I've played that, and the only issue I have with the solo game is that it plays through 12 actions of the solo character, and it's broken up into 2 groups of 6, and so 2 of the actions in the 6 are pick one of the topmost abilities, and they score that. And then the other card is pick one of the 2 bottom ones and score that. And so early on, turn 1, they could flip that over, and it's like, okay, I need to look at what I'm trying to do and be like, okay, they're taking the 15 spot in either the cards with winter habitat or 4 mushrooms. What do I think I can accomplish before the next round comes up? It's being like, okay, I can probably get 4 mushrooms, so I'm going to give him the 15 points for that. Now the best I can do is 11. And then later on, he'll pick one of these two and just automatically take the 15 points. And I'll only have like 2 or 3 cards played out. It's like there's no way I can get 8+ cards with a winter habitat when I've only got 3 cards on the board. And so many. I tried the solo numerous times, and I was playing on the harder level, not the easy level, but just the ease with which the solo opponent just takes those 15 points. Sometimes they'll get all the 15-point spots, and then maybe by the end of the game I might be able to get 3 of them, and it's just a huge. And so that's kind of discouraging when you're spending all this time trying to figure out the best puzzle, and the solo player is just like, yeah, that thing that you're 8 turns away from. Yeah, I did that. So I don't know that I would play this as a solo game. But I would play it as a solo multiplayer at least until I get tired of the puzzle. So I'll give it a 2 for now, which is an 8 overall. But I can see it dropping to a 7 with more plays.
I would give it a 2. I like the game. I would play it if it's suggested. Again, it did take a couple plays for me to really start enjoying it. And understanding it, but now that I do have a grasp for the game, I enjoy playing it. I like the cards. I don't have a problem with them not being something to catch my attention. That's no big deal to me. I enjoy looking at the pictures, reading about them, and just playing them out. So I'm just taking it as a game and enjoying it well. Again, did it need to be an earth nature theme? Not necessarily, but it is. I like it. I think it's pretty. I like the cards. And I would play the game if it was offered. So I would suggest it sometimes as well, but again, it's not an introductory game. You've really got to have people who are pretty familiar with games and engine building and tableau building to play with, but I would give it overall an 8.
Okay, so this raises 2 questions. First question, are we keeping the game?
Yes.
I'm saying yes, leaning towards no.
Okay.
Like I could get rid of this without it hurting my feelings, I think. Because there are games that do this, not to this amount of complexity with the scoring puzzle, but could scratch the itch. But I'm not there yet. I still would like to play it more.
I would play this over Terraforming Mars.
Interesting.
This is not as heavy as Terraforming Mars, and that's a huge investment for me. So I really have to be in the right frame of mind to play that one. I could easily jump in and play this one. So
the second question is, do we want the expansion for this game?
Where I would love the pink leaves, we don't need the expansion.
So the expansion will add, for one thing, it adds about 1/3 more cards. It adds some cards that care about your opponents without like a take that mechanism. You might get some cards where it's like you get 6 sprouts, everybody else gets 2, kind of a trigger. Mm-hmm. Or when you trigger this action, you get 1 dirt for every brown action that the opponent to one side or the other has. So that adds cards that make you care about the people beside you, but I don't know that it makes you care in a way that it would actually add to the game.
I don't think I like this game enough to get the expansion.
It might get to the point where I would like to have some variety of cards. Gives you a lot more of these scoring things. We've got tons to go with. It adds a rule where when you collect sprouts, you can store them on your board.
That would be nice.
And then at the end of your turn, you can space them out however you want. You can't turn them in for soil from your board, but once you put them out there, you can. That might be something that we try integrating anyways.
Just as a house rule, yeah.
Especially at the very beginning of the game when you don't have any cards out, you don't want to take the blue or the yellow action. The blue action gives you sprouts that go out on your cards and 2 soil. So why would you do that if you don't have any cards that could get sprouts? But if you could store them on your board, then you could trigger a blue action maybe and get something. And so I could see trying that. They also add seeds, which is a different resource that you're going to collect that are a little bit more difficult to get. And at any time you can turn in seeds for soil or for growth or for sprouts or for cards. You know, it's something else to help you get stuff. But it adds a germinate action as well, where they have a list of card types. And you can turn in a seed and ask for one of those card types. Like Arctic Fox wants cards with a winter habitat. You can turn in a seed and say, I want a winter habitat. And then you draw cards off the top of the deck until you find a winter habitat. You take that winter habitat and then shuffle the cards back. And so the seeds can help you find specific types of cards to meet certain goals. I don't know that this game needs it, but if you're one that doesn't like the randomness of I can't get that 8th winter habitat, then you might like to have the seeds integrated in.
I don't see the need for it.
So I definitely don't see the need of getting it in this current Kickstarter. It's $29 US with $11 shipping, so that's $40 for an expansion. Getting the expansion through the Kickstarter does mean that you would get the pink in wood instead of cardboard.
Can you get the pink by itself?
No. It will give you more of these, and it'll give you more of the wood soil if you want, because it adds that 6th player, so it adds more resources for it. But I would be okay that if we decided that we wanted to try the expansion, get it at retail. If she wanted to play pink, she would just have pink cardboard leaves instead of the wood ones, and it probably wouldn't feel any different. These are still the same in base game or the deluxe version, so these wouldn't change. You would just get more cardboard dirt pieces, which I prefer to use anyways. So personally for us, I don't see any reason to kickstart the expansion. If you are interested in the base game, it's a good way to get the base game with the deluxe components. If you want the wooden leaves and the wooden dirt, it's also the way to get the base game and the expansion with all the wooden pieces, if that matters to you. But I think this is a game that it'd probably be better just to get it in retail, because you probably get it cheaper at retail.
And these aren't necessary. This doesn't make or break the game.
And you can, with the retail, you can usually combine the shipping with the multiple different things to get free shipping. And so then you don't pay that $11 shipping that you would with the Kickstarter. So
it's a good game. I enjoy playing it. Is it one that's going to stay in our collection? It will for now. Maybe it won't down the road. Do we need the expansion? No, we don't.
This game has got quite the hype in the board gaming community. Not quite to Wingspan levels when that came out, but still pretty high. I appreciate the puzzle that the game gives, but I don't quite understand the hype.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
Anyways,
it's not Wingspan.
That's our discussion on Earth. What do you think? Do you enjoy Earth? Are you a plant nerd? Do you really like the plant cards, and I'm just missing out? So, anyways, we're playing through our collection to figure out what to keep and what to give away. And if you want to join us in that journey, please like, subscribe, do all the YouTube type stuff. We're not very good at this YouTube stuff, so we're slowly growing as people find us. But that's how we want to grow. We want to find people who are interested in the same things we are and are joining us on this journey. So
and those who have found us and are following us, thank you. We appreciate it. Let us know your thoughts on this game, or any other game that you might want us to give a try and review on. So until then, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.